Welcome back everyone. Time to do, I guess, a full review of the AirPods Maxes that I've been using for the last couple of days. Now, I'll definitely tell you there have been a lot of highs and there really hasn't been too many lows. I think the main complaint that I have of this specific set of AirPods is just the price tag, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think these are amazing $550 headphones. I think these are really good headphones, but for that price tag, like, I just find it so hard to just justify it, especially when you look at the competition. From what I've heard, a lot of Sony headphones, a lot of Bose headphones, those are, those are cheaper than this one. And even if you look at Apple's older lineup, the Beats lineup that I think they're still selling, like, those are far cheaper than the AirPods Maxes. And I just don't know who they're specifically going for, you know what I mean? I think if they're trying to go for more like, producers and people who are really taking music seriously, then I think these are fine, you know what I mean? Like, I listen to the audio of these things, I listen to it, and I think they're good headphones. Like, I don't know, I'm not somebody who like critiques audio too much. I have dropped music before and like, I just listen to music and I just kind of see how it sounds and I'm like, oh, it's good. But for a professional, they may have a different opinion than mine because I'm not a music professional, I'm just a person who makes music sometimes. So that's the one area. The price tag, I'm just not too much of a fan of it, you know what I mean? Like, if these things were $300, I think that would have been a really good deal in my opinion. I think $300 is one of those price tags that kind of is justifiable. It's not like an insane amount, but it also doesn't cost as much as an iPhone, you know? Apple is currently selling an iPhone SE2 for $399. Apple is also selling an iPhone XR for $499, and Apple is currently still selling an iPhone 11 for $599. These AirPods Maxes cost more than the iPhone SE2, cost more than an iPhone XR, and almost cost just as much as an iPhone 11 that's currently $599. These $549 headphones are really expensive in my opinion, and they're just not necessarily worth the money. I think, they're definitely not worth the money just because of the price tag, but that doesn't mean these are horrible headphones. They're still great headphones. They don't really do anything too crazy though that would make it justifiable for $549. So that's the one thing, right? The other thing that really made me think these headphones were just money grabs were the earpieces, you know what I mean? Like, and that was something that really threw me off. The fact that Apple is selling these things for however much they're selling for in basically the Apple store is insane to me. It probably takes Apple maybe no more than $1. It probably takes them like 30 cents to make an individual earpiece for these AirPods Maxes. And the fact that they're selling these things for, I think, over $50, maybe even $60 in the Apple store is insane to me. That's just another reason why I think Apple really kind of converted their methodology into more of like a money grab type of thing. Like, they're trying to make every little thing like, okay, the AirPods Maxes, those are going to be expensive, but we're going to make them reusable with the, adjustable earpieces. You can change them, whatever, but you're going to have to go get them from the Apple store and you're going to have to get them from there. Like, and they're so expensive. That was one thing that really threw me off, and it was just so blatant. Like, that was just a money grab in my opinion. So those were really my two main complaints, to be completely honest. The hardware and everything is perfect. It definitely feels super premium, but those were my main complaints and I wanted to get those out of the way. Now, on the other side, I think these are really good headphones. I think for the most part, if I just use them and I didn't think about the price and if I didn't think about single thing like that, I like the fluidity of these. I love AirPods. I am still somebody who likes plugging in my headphones into the device and listening there, believe it or not. But I think with these AirPods Maxes, I didn't really run into too many issues in terms of hardware and software. The only slight thing that I could have seen throughout my experience was the latency in the audio. And I've heard a couple of other reviewers also mention this. And what this is, basically, if you're listening to a song, most specifically if you're editing a video, which this was in my case, sometimes from what I'm seeing on the video, from what I'm editing, may not be exactly what I'm hearing on the specific thing. If you blow your speakers, basically you can hear exactly the same time your video is playing and the audio is spiking up and down is basically what you're hearing, from your speakers. But with the AirPods Maxes, and I've had this happen a couple times on AirPods, the standard ones, but it does get fixed over time with software updates. The AirPods Maxes sometimes still have that issue, so I know because I've used the AirPods 1s and the 2s and the Pros that I know this is just a temporary issue. It's probably going to be fixed in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, but it is kind of an annoying thing still that every single time these headphones come out, you have to wait until it gets fixed. But one thing that I really do love about these AirPods is the transparency mode. The ability of actually hearing everything around you while you're still listening to music is one of my favorite things from any headphones, and to have that capability. And I said this in my AirPods Pro review as well. With the AirPods 1s, you have that ability of still kind of hearing things around you because they weren't necessarily the best in-ear headphones. They couldn't necessarily like block out all the noise because it didn't have like noise reduction and all that stuff. So because of just the way they were made, you could still hear things around you a little bit, but the ability of having the ability to turn that off is something that's really awesome. With AirPods Pros and AirPods Maxes, you have the ability of just shutting off all that noise around you if you want to. If you're on a plane, if you're on whatever, you can just turn off all that noise and just basically listen to all the songs that are, around you and what you're listening to. And let's say you're walking around in a mall or you're going wherever and you want to keep your AirPods Maxes on, but you still want to hear people around you. Well, basically you have that ability too. You can go ahead and turn transparency mode on and it'll give the illusion that you can't hear them or whatever, but you can still basically hear things around you. And that's something I love. I mean, I don't know a lot of other headphones that have that. I'm sure there are, ones that exist, but that in and of itself is a huge plus for these AirPods Maxes. And I think that in and of itself is one of my favorite features about it. Now, beyond that, I have to go back to another complaint that I mentioned earlier. Basically, one thing that really rubs me the wrong way, and for me, I'm not an active person, but if you're somebody who is active, if you're planning on taking these things to the gym and stuff, you're probably going to run into issues. The mesh around them is going to really absorb the sweat, and with the earpieces, you can go ahead and replace them, but the mesh up top is not really replaceable. You're going to have to replace the whole headphones, and I know a lot of people, including me, we sweat like on top of our head, and it drips down. It's so disgusting, but the mesh on these things is going to absorb all that sweat. So that's another really big thing to keep in mind. But on the other flip side, these earpieces, if you even brush them against something, or if you kind of tap them against something, if you're in the gym and you take them off and you kind of put them somewhere and you take them, like these earpieces have the tendency of sometimes falling off if they're hit or nudged against something. And that's a huge thing to keep in mind. These things I don't think are meant for super physical activity type of things. These earpieces, like I said, are not cheap to replace unless you can get them from like Alibaba or somewhere for cheaper. So that was another slight complaint I had. So that's another pretty big thing to keep in mind. Now, I know a lot of people were complaining about the case that it came with, and I was too, but honestly, I haven't used the case since I bought these things. I put it in a couple times to make some videos on my second channel, but I honestly haven't made too many complaints about it. So that's another thing. Like if you're planning on traveling and stuff like that, then these things are going to be really annoying. But if you're planning on just keeping them on your desk and moving on with your life, then you're probably not going to use that case ever. So I don't really think like for me personally, I kind of forgot about the case problem. So that really wasn't too big of a deal for me. And the battery life was actually pretty good on these AirPods as well. And again, that's another huge plus for this thing. When you're going about and you're trying to go from point A to point B and you're driving somewhere and you want headphones that'll last you a while, these things, the battery life in them is actually pretty good. And I really don't think that's a problem. I think a lot of reviewers especially, they were saying that the battery life, will die super fast because it takes 2 hours for them to fully turn off or go on standby time. But I don't know if that's exactly the case. They definitely die. They definitely go down, probably faster if they're not in the case. But from what I've read and from my experience, it seems to be that it's a very slow degradation. It really only because they know when they're on your head. So they know to turn off noise reduction. They know to turn off the songs. So it's not really playing anything. It just kind of goes on standby mode. So when they're off your head, I'm assuming transparency mode, noise reduction, all that stuff does go down and turn off when you're not on their head. So that's another pretty big thing to keep in mind. So I didn't have problems with the battery life. They're pretty much as expected. I don't know if they're better than my AirPods 2s. I don't use AirPods Pros anymore, but I don't know if they're better than the AirPods 2s to be honest, but they probably are. I didn't really find myself complaining about the battery life pretty much. So to kind of sum up this video, man, to be honest, I think the AirPods Maxes are great headphones. I think for what Apple did with them, for the capability behind them, I think they have a lot of capability. I think they have a lot of character, but I just don't think they're the best headphones for everyone, especially for that price tag. If I were to use either AirPods Maxes or AirPods Pros, I would probably end up picking up AirPods Pros if they fit in your ear. For me personally, they do not fit in my ear that well, so I tend to use AirPods 2s instead. But let's say AirPods Pros, they work in your ear and everything. You can pretty much do everything that AirPods Maxes can do on AirPods Pros. They're just cheaper and they're a little bit more durable in my opinion, and they're cheaper to replace the ear tips on because you can replace the ear tips on the AirPods Pros. You can do that on the AirPods Maxes, but it's a little bit more expensive to do. So that's another pretty big thing to keep in mind. But I'll tell you, if you have the money, go for it. My only complaint that's really justifiable is the price tag. The earpieces are also probably another big one, but I'll be honest, every other thing about this set of AirPods were perfect. They held the job. They did everything perfectly fine. But like I stated, if you were in the specific situation that I was, I don't think I would necessarily use the AirPods Maxes every day. But honestly, for the money and everything, I just don't think they're worth the $550. I think if you can get a pair of AirPods, 2s or something, you can even buy, I think you can buy an AirPods 2 and an iPhone SE 2 and still be cheaper than the AirPods Maxes or around the same price. So it's super insane to me. It's a lot of money to spend on a specific, set of headphones, but it is what it is and there's nothing we can really do about it. But that's kind of my opinion on the AirPods Maxes. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.